They dared me as a joke. That's the part that still makes my chest tighten when I think about it. Friday evening, dim office lights, empty coffee cups, the hum of computers finally going silent, and a group of coworkers leaning against my desk with those grins people wear when they think they're being harmless. "You won't do it," one of them said, nudging another. "Ask her out. Right now. Your boss. Come on." I laughed, because that's what you do when fear disguises itself as humor. But inside, something cracked open, because for 3 years I had carried a quiet, careful feeling I never let breathe. She wasn't just my boss. She was the reason I came early and stayed late. The reason I volunteered for projects no one wanted. The reason I believed, stupidly, that maybe patience meant safety. My friends called it a dare. For me, it felt like standing at the edge of a cliff, knowing once I stepped forward, there would be no going back. Her office door was still open. That detail matters, because if it had been closed, I would have backed out. She was sitting at her desk, glasses low on her nose, reading something on her tablet with that focused expression that made the world seem quieter when she wore it. Claire. Even her name felt too important to say out loud sometimes. I stood there longer than I should have, heart hammering so loudly I was sure she could hear it. My coworkers whispered behind me, "Do it. Do it." And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. I wasn't scared of rejection. I was scared of confirmation. Scared that the thing I'd been pretending wasn't there would finally be named, spoken, real. I knocked lightly anyway. She looked up, surprised, then smiled. That smile ruined me every time. "Everything okay?" she asked. Simple words. Professional tone. But her eyes softened the way they always did when it was just the two of us. I swallowed. My mouth went dry. The dare echoed in my head, but something else rose with it. Every late-night deadline we survived together. Every laugh in the break room. Every moment she defended my work in meetings when others doubted me. This wasn't a crush born from fantasy. It was built from time. From trust. From waiting. "Claire," I said, and my voice didn't sound like mine. "Can I ask you something, not work-related?" She paused. That pause felt like a lifetime. She set her tablet down carefully, as if giving the moment respect. "Okay," she said. "Just okay." No smile. No frown. Just openness. My coworkers had gone silent now, watching from a distance, realizing too late this wasn't entertainment anymore. I stepped inside and closed the door behind me, not because I planned it, but because my legs moved on their own. I stood there, hands clenched, heart screaming. "I know this is complicated," I began. "And if this makes things awkward, I'll understand. I've been meaning to ask you for a long time." Her expression changed. Not shock. Not anger. Something deeper. Recognition. As if a puzzle piece had finally clicked into place. She leaned back slightly, studying me, and I swear the air shifted between us. "Go on," she said softly. And in that softness, I found courage I didn't know I had. "I like you," I said. No speeches. No clever lines. Just truth. Not just as my boss. Not just as someone I respect. I mean, I really like you. And I was wondering if you'd ever want to go out with me. Outside of work. Just us." The words hung there, fragile, exposed. I braced myself for the polite letdown. The HR-friendly response. The reminder of boundaries. Instead, she stood up. That's when everything changed. She walked around her desk slowly, eyes never leaving mine, heels clicking softly against the floor. My pulse roared in my ears. When she stopped in front of me, close enough that I could smell her perfume, she crossed her arms, tilted her head, and sighed. A real sigh. Heavy. Emotional. "Do you have any idea," she said, "how long I've been waiting for you to say that?" I blinked, sure I'd misheard. "What?" I whispered. She laughed, not lightly, but with relief. "I was starting to think you never would." I felt dizzy. You were waiting?" She nodded, eyes shining now. "I didn't say anything because I'm your boss. Because I didn't want to put pressure on you. Because I needed to know you chose this. That you weren't just responding to authority or expectation." She stepped closer. "But I'm tired of waiting." "What took you so long?" The words hit me harder than any rejection ever could have. My co-workers outside gasped, laughter erupting, but it sounded distant, unreal. All I could see was her. All I could feel was the weight of years lifting off my chest. I laughed then. A shaky, disbelieving laugh. "I thought you didn't see me that way." She smiled sadly. "I saw you long before you saw yourself." She reached out, gently touching my arm, a small gesture that somehow meant everything. "But this doesn't happen unless we're careful," she added. "We do this right. No secrets. No games." I nodded so fast it was probably ridiculous. "Yes," I said. "Absolutely. Anything." She smiled again, softer now. "Then yes," she said. "I'd like to go out with you." If this story is already making your heart race, if you've ever waited too long to say something that mattered, take a moment to subscribe. Stories like this remind us that timing is powerful, but courage is everything. And sometimes, the words you're afraid to say are the ones someone else has been waiting to hear. We walked out of her office together that night, not hand in hand, not yet, but changed. My co-workers cheered, teasing me relentlessly, but I barely heard them. My mind replayed her words over and over. "I'm tired of waiting. What took you so long?" I realized then that love isn't always fireworks at first sight. Sometimes it's quiet. Patient. Sometimes it waits for you to grow brave enough to meet it halfway. And as we stepped into the elevator, standing side by side in comfortable silence, I knew this was only the beginning. The real story was just getting started. The elevator ride felt longer than any meeting we'd ever sat through. Not because it was awkward, but because everything inside me was too loud. Every thought collided with another, every feeling demanding attention. Claire stood beside me, arms relaxed, eyes forward, but there was a small smile playing on her lips that told me she was feeling it too. When the doors opened in the lobby, she glanced at me and said, "We should probably leave separately tonight." I nodded, understanding immediately. This wasn't secrecy. It was respect. Boundaries mattered, especially now. "But," she added, lowering her voice, "text me when you get home." That single sentence felt more intimate than any confession. I watched her walk toward the parking lot, posture calm, professional, yet something about her step felt lighter. I stood there a moment longer, letting the reality settle. The dare had ended, but something real had begun. That night, sleep didn't come easily. My phone lay on the nightstand like a promise. When her message finally arrived, simple and warm, I read it 3 times before replying. We didn't flirt. We didn't rush. We talked like two people who had already built something solid and were now carefully stepping into a new room together. Over the next few days, work felt different. Not uncomfortable. Sharper. More intentional. We kept things professional in public, but there was an unspoken awareness between us, like a shared secret humming quietly beneath every conversation. And I realized something important. Waiting hadn't weakened what we felt. It had strengthened it. Our first date wasn't dramatic. No fancy restaurant. No grand gestures. Just coffee at a quiet place across town where no one knew us. She arrived early. So did I. When she smiled and said, "Hi," it felt brand new, even though I'd heard that word from her 1,000 times. We talked for hours. About childhood dreams, failures we never shared at work, fears we carried silently. At one point she admitted, "I almost gave up waiting." My chest tightened. "I'm glad you didn't," I said. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. That touch said more than words ever could. If you're still listening, still reading, this is your reminder to subscribe. Because stories like this aren't about fantasy. They're about timing, courage, and the quiet moments that change everything. As weeks passed, challenges came. Whispers at work. Assumptions. A difficult conversation with HR that tested our honesty and commitment. But we faced it together. No hiding. No shortcuts. And through it all, I learned that the bravest thing I ever did wasn't asking my boss out. It was believing that I was worthy of being chosen. When she looked at me one evening and said, "I'm glad you finally spoke," I understood something deeply. Sometimes life dares you not to embarrass you, but to push you toward the moment you've been avoiding. And when you finally step forward, you realize the waiting was never punishment. It was preparation. This chapter of the story closes here, but what comes next is even deeper. Love tested. Choices made. A future shaped by one question asked at the right time. Stay with me. Subscribe. Because chapter 2 is where everything truly unfolds.